All right, guys. For those of you who don't know, my name is Aleks. I am one of the co-organizers for this event for DEFCON Toronto. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. It was such a great turnout. Really, thank you to my sponsors. Thank you to VM Farms. Thank you to Job Springs for the beer and pizza. You know, if it wasn't for these guys, this probably wouldn't have happened. And we wouldn't be able to talk about some of these things that we're really passionate about. So, round of applause for these guys. Alright, so I'm going to get right to it. Lockpicking. It's going to be a simple, really quick presentation, super interactive. I mean, I built little tiny doors just for you guys. I spent like a whole day, I took like the whole day off of work just to build these little doors just for you guys to break into. So please try and break into. I want each and every one of you to at least open up the grade 3 lock, one at the bottom there, just once before you go home, please. So, lockpicking. We're going to talk about hacking before there were computers, right? So, brief introduction about myself. My name is Aleks. I do a lot of presentations in cybersecurity, done presentations for B-sides, do a couple for TD for some of the associates on like hacker groups, pen testing, you name it. But I also have a little special part of my heart for like physical security systems, physical access points, things that, you know, once I get a hold of it, everyone knows it's game over. Like, you can encrypt it, you can do whatever you want, I can replicate it, I can put it over, I can drill a hole in it. Like, once I get my hands on it, I can do so much more than with like a digital connection to it. So, that's what my talk's all about. In this presentation, I'm going to be going over the history of lockpicking. Yes, there's a history of lockpicking. I'm also going to be going over like the basic components of a common lock, and then going to like little techniques on how to exploit it. Cool? If you guys have any questions, take it over to the other side where I'm trying to like get everyone to lock it, just like a tap. All right? Cool. All right. Speaking of lockpicking techniques, I love what the military does. Now, their lockpicking techniques are phenomenal. So, the history of lockpicking. So, lockpicking is as old as the lock itself. And a lot of people can say that the lock is as old as civilization. And there's a couple of people that say that, you know, key-based locks go back to like 2000 BCE, back to like ancient Egypt, where they built locks and they put all their prized possessions in there. However, you know, there's some, you know, evidence that emerged recently that says that the key-based lock goes back as the ancient Mesopotamia. However, there are some scholars out there who actually think that aliens pretty much. History part 2. Now, like any other tool of security, it takes time and effort to like reform it, to like polish it up and make sure that it's a little secure. And you know, it's the locks that we grow and we use and we trust today. To give you an example of how far back or how much we've come since the early ages of building locks, back in the Middle Ages, some of the only things that locksmiths could do to better protect your stuff is build a false keyhole. What? Really? That's the best you can do? To try to confuse the person trying to get into the lock? So we've come a long way in lockpicking. We leave it all up to this OG boss, Joseph Bravo, to change up the locksmithing game forever. This guy was a polymath, so he was an engineer, an inventor, who's known as the father of pneumatic power. He also built the flushing toilet. I mean, hands down, this guy changed our lives forever. Right? Look at this guy. Kiss the rose. So this real life Tony Stark applied his talents and his engineering mind to locks as well. Thank God, right? So what he did was, he built these locks that were vastly superior to anything of its time before. I mean, people actually were living in like an age of like perfect security when this guy built his locks. You can almost see like this guy as like the founder and the father of like a bug bounty program, because not only did he build locks and build all these awesome inventions, he also was like ballsy enough. This pimp actually wrote a contest on his lock that he built saying anyone who can break into it will actually get the equivalent of today, 20,000 pounds. That's like that's $28,000 American, and about $36,000 Canadian right now. So this right here is exactly what the lock is. It's a pretty big padlock, and you can see here that this guy not only like wrote the challenge on the lock, but like in gold font, like straight up can't move. Just put it right up there in like his shop front, and it stood there for about 70 years, unbeaten, and just taunting locksmiths and lockpickers for years. And you know, like Bruce Lee, Tupac, Mufasa, and every great legend that ever lived, Brahma too passed away, leaving his locksmithing empire to his sons. And it was at this time when a young locksmith that goes by the name of A.C. Hobbs locked himself for 15 days in the guy's shop on the second floor with the lock right there, and eventually was able to break into it, thus ending the days of perfect security as we know it. Nowadays, if you talk to any professional security admin, and he says, yeah, I can guarantee that all your stuff is 100% secure, fire that guy right away. There's no such thing as perfect security. No one can offer it. All you can do is offer walls of deterrence for hackers and malicious criminals. So, you know, rest in peace to Joseph Brown, first OG of lock picking. So this is exactly what a lock looks like. Here you guys can see, for those of you who haven't actually cut a pin tumbler lock in half before, this is kind of what it looks like. Over here in green, you can see the actual lock. The yellow is the plug. The gray is the key. Not sure if you guys noticed that. There's 5 pins at the bottom and 5 pins at the top. And that's essentially what a common lock looks like and what it is. This is kind of how it works. Now, drum roll please. First person to tell me right now, will this key unlock this lock? Yes or no? Hand up. Tell me.
I can't see it.
Hand up. Yes. No. Why?
Because the pins break at the point where the colors meet, and it has to break on the plug.
That point where the colors meet, that right there is the key. And what that point is called is the shear line. Ah, the shear line. Like the notorious G-spot, hard to find, but you'll know when you find it. So when it comes to the tools of lockpicking, there's plenty to choose from. So many. You've got your flathead screwdrivers, you've got car pick locking systems, which can bring into Audis, Bentleys, VWs, you name it. You've got stuff that I've never seen before. You've got also circular, kind of like for elevator keys. We've got a whole bunch of tools. So if you're someone who really likes tools, lockpicking I think is your talent, your skill you should get into for sure. And you know, when all else fails,
What do you call the military?
or you call it military, yeah, they'll just like right through, or you can use this battering ram. Now I'm going to go over lockpicking techniques. Now this is how we actually exploit the vulnerabilities of these locks themselves. And what these locks are just pins that are just going into a shaft inside of another shaft, and the shaft won't turn because the pins are in the way. So how do we get the pins out of the way? Easy. We can use breaking techniques, which is probably the basic way to break into a lock, where you have a tension wrench, which is kind of like this right here. Got it in here. They're just like angled piece of metal that goes into the bottom of the keyway or the top, and it's all depending on your flavor of lockpicking. And then you have this right here, which is the rake. So that's not a rake, that's not a rake, that's not a rake. A rake is kind of like this, but it has multiple hills and peaks to it. So you can go left to right, in and out, up and down, all across the pins. Hopefully you'll match the shear line and you're in. That's known as raking a pick. The second part here is single pick locking. These guys who can do single pick locking, like, they're good. They can pretty much get into any lock that I've seen. They can just go in there, they can feel the exact tension of the actual pin at the bottom, they'll know exactly the amount of pressure, and they can even count how many pins are there, and they'll know exactly, watch this, boom, they're in. Like, they know when they're gonna like get into the system, because they can do single pin locking. The third part is known as rocking, and you use this guy right here for rocking a pin. So you put your tension wrench in there, you put in this little curved bit, this little curved piece, and you put it into the actual keyhole, and all you do is just go up and down. That's it. And when people rock a lock, they're kind of guessing. And when you're guessing about whether or not how many pins you're unlocking, you can feel it in the tension wrench because you'll actually have a little bit of give. Because when you disengage some of these pins, that shaft will turn just a little bit. And some people can actually feel it. And if you are unsure about whether or not it's actually turned, you can stop what you're doing, take your pick out, and then slowly release tension on the tension wrench. And you can hear it. You can hear like 1, 2, 3. I released 3. You know, I was like 2 away or 3 away. So that's how many pins are in that lock. And that's how you can get better with lock picking, because you can feel it. It's like that intimate hacking almost. The next thing is zipping. So when it comes to zipping a lock, you're taking this half diamond pick, and you're applying constant pressure with your tension wrench, and you're just in and out, just all across all of the pins, and eventually you'll zip through it, and you'll break. The next part, blank picking, is a combination of rock and zip picking. So you'll rock first, and then when it comes down to bitch picking, it's an actual term. You'll take your single pin, your single rake here with just that one little curve, and you'll just go crazy inside that lock. And apparently it unlocks. You can see a couple of YouTube videos online of people actually bitch picking master locks, and it works flawlessly. There's actually one YouTube video of a lady who's ranting because her son lost his bike due to like a bitch picking attempt, and it just happened within just a couple of minutes. So it was like no skill or anything involved in getting that lock, that master lock unlocked. And then the last one is bumping, and I love bumping locks. It's so much fun. This right here is known as a snap gun, and it has a little tiny iron rod and a little trigger. The reason why I love bumping is because it's so mechanical and it works, and it just utilizes the inertia of you hitting those bottom pins, and those top ones just go on. I use this technique on every lock I've ever seen in any of my engagements with any company I do a pen test for. And it works. It works flawlessly for those locks that are first grade, second grade, third grade, doesn't matter. As long as you hit those pins, it'll work. There's some individuals out there who have locks that have security pins that will be a little bit harder, but that's when you combine some of these other techniques in order to get into some of these locks. You know, you might just rake or rock some of the pins, and then you just might pull out your snap gun, snap a couple of the non-security pins, and you're in. So I'm going to show you guys a demo of all these techniques on the other side. That's my presentation. 1, 2, 3, go.